years ago, I came up with an idea for a feature film. It's about a tennis player who, after a car crash, lost his dog, his love, and his life, and now has to restart from zero. And if he wants to get back in the game, he has to prove that if you want to make something happen, you gotta take it into your own hands. However, I am not ready to direct this film. And this realization kind of broke me. Over the past 3 years, I have made 6 different films. And I'm not ready at all. Which is why I am starting over with a... Before I can touch the screenplay, before I direct one single frame of that feature, I have to make 10 new short films, and at least one of them has to win a recognition of a film festival. Every video on this channel will document the journey to get there. I'm Matias, and this is where it starts. This is where I started, the road. In 2023, I attempted my first ever film, Looking Through the Storm. I got inspired by the great philosopher Nietzsche when I read his quote that read, "All signs of superhuman nature comes from a man's illness or insanity." Because of this, I drafted a story about a father who, after a terrible accident, he has to rescue his son by going through a storm. This being said, although I was trying to go for more insanity, the things I didn't quite work through. And that's because I was still new. But I did get to learn a lot of lessons. The film had several problems. First of all, as a whole, while the concept was cool, the story didn't make any sense. After all, the kid had a heart attack for literally no reason. Yeah. Anyway. On top of that, the effect looks bad. You can tell I green screened everything. The color grading switches at the end for literally no reason, and the acting is just bland and falls flat in every scene. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know how to execute the idea. And because of the lack of planning, the film struggled to convey its original premise. Although the core idea does come across. Kind of. So I made another one, An Everlasting Hope. And determined to make it better than Looking Through the Storm, I wanted someone with some experience guiding me. So I found someone. He came from telenovelas, and you can feel it in every single frame. The style wasn't mine, it was his. And I didn't know yet that those were two completely different things, as a director's style is extremely important to his blueprint and who he is as a filmmaker. However, the message did go through. At the end of the day, both films suffered from the same problem, communication. The first one was too psychological, so trapped inside my own head of what that quote meant that nobody could really connect the dots except for me. And the second one never really became the film I imagined it to be because I failed to communicate what I wanted to do with my crew and my teacher. That's when I realized my biggest flaw as a filmmaker was communication. Determined to fix this, my next 2 films were going to be the trial by fire in which this flaw would be put to the test. Next up was the film that I had been written for about 4 months at this point, called Figures. Figures was about mental health and suicide. It was a really heavy story, and because of it, I wanted to make it the best as I could. However, I had to wait for people to be interested in it. So when I finally got people who wanted to make the film, I started to make storyboards and a shot list. This gave the crew a better feel for what I wanted. Simply put, the more people understand something, the clearer the execution will be, which is why this helped a lot when deciding what shots were best for conveying emotions like anger or anger, which pushed this film even further than my previous ones. I started making storyboards and a shot list. This gave the crew a better feel for what I wanted. I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. The fool I was. Oh. You see, there's a key scene. One that is one of the most important in the film. I shot it with one angle. I was thinking about what I needed in the moment, not what I needed in the edit. 2 full minutes. 2 full minutes of story just unwatchable. Unwatchable. There's nothing to cut to. You can't fix coverage. Ever. Simply put, I had filmed it like I was recording a play instead of film. I don't know why. But in that moment, I had a choice. I could release it or just admit that carelessness had a cost. And truth be told, I didn't release it. So if you want to see the film, let me know and I'll release it to the channel. But just so you know, it's a rough watch. From then on, I told myself, never again. The next thing I filmed was a short film for class where I had 1 week to film a short film, which kind of means I only had 1 day. The task was pretty hard. I had to find the cast and crew in all in 1 week. Immediately thought of something like Looking Through the Storm in the sense that it was kind of a silent short film with very few dialogue, something relatively simple to do. I thought, hey, maybe I could do a film kind of silent about the pandemic. And I wrote a script about that. The one problem, I didn't even have time to cast. I didn't even have a crew. I was of course gonna be the actor because I didn't have time to cast anyone else. But if I was gonna be the actor, who was gonna film me? I didn't know. And all my classmates were with the same project, so I didn't even know who would help me. Luckily though, my friends came in clutch, and we were able to pull it off. For what it was, I think I'm pretty proud of the assignment because I liked how it looked. Now there's some nitpicks here and there of what I would have done differently, but honestly, I really liked some of these shots, like the drone shot. Woo! That's one of my favorites. Still, the lack of crew and time caused me problems that I could have just fixed in pre-production. 1 week is just not enough time to make a film. It's possible, but it's really hard to do. Then came around Dark and Light, a music video which a friend of mine had asked me to direct. I had a lot of fun with this and it felt so real. It was starting with a real crew, pre-production, the amount of meetings we had. It was honestly really, really fun. I used an app called Milanote for the first time to organize everything. From shot lists, storyboards, mood boards, even logistics. It was the most professional I had ever worked. And it showed because of our planning and the way we organized everything. But unfortunately, 1 week before the shoot, I had a seizure. I had to go back home to Colombia to see doctors and recover. And in that moment, I had a decision to make. Should I hand the project off or postpone it or even direct it online? But after all the work we've done, I couldn't just hand it off to someone. And it just felt like such a waste to not do it because of everything we've gone through. So I decided to direct it online. and you can feel it in the performance. These are moments where you can see the actors needed someone in the room, someone to guide them. And that's a gap that you can close with camera. So I kept asking myself, what does it take to be prepared and to be ready to mean the same thing? If I were to have better direction, I wanted to challenge myself to make something more meaningful. That's why I made Brushstrokes of Yesterday. This was different from the start. It was a short film about my grandmother who had Alzheimer's. It was heavily inspired by her relationship with my dad. This story was simple but true. Sometimes the brain forgets and it wanders. But love stays, even when everything else is lost. And that's what I wanted to show in this film. That's what I wanted to remind my family of her. I planned it for 2 months, and something I'd never felt before on a set happened. People wanted to be there. They showed up. They gave input. They genuinely cared about it. The whole vibe was different from every single other film that I had ever directed before. But it still had its problems. My teacher pointed out that the house layout didn't really make any sense. Especially because if this was a house or an apartment, it just didn't make sense for the door to be there, although I wanted there for a specific shot. So we had to transform the house into an apartment. He also just was pushing on a lot of ideas the day of, instead of bringing in pre-production when he had made me do a storyboard, an animatic, and he could have told me all this feedback beforehand when I asked for meetings with him, instead of the day of in front of the actors. And what he said completely conflicted with my shot list on my storyboard, kind of throwing away my whole film side. But on top of all of this, the course director brought up and told me that I was not going to have an ending, because a 3-part painting 1 week before we shot of the actor's face to kind of just magically do a reveal of it. Who's gonna paint that? Who's going to paint my face on the actors on 3 canvases in 1 week? Spoiler alert, it worked. I am confident right now. This is my best film to date. Crew members cried while watching the actors perform. And my family, when I showed them the film, they cried and they hugged me and they were all really, really happy. It was beyond rewarding. I'm not gonna lie, the film still had its issues. For example, the lighting could be more dynamic and the colors sometimes fall flat in places where I needed more depth. I can see exactly where I lost control of the image, but even so, I'm really content with the acting and with the emotions the film conveys. That's why I submitted to a festival. It's there as we speak. I don't know the result yet, but I do know this. Making a film that means everything to you, instead of making a film just because you like the story, isn't the same thing. And the distinction showed me something. And it's why the rule at the beginning of the video exists. So moving forward, I want to make projects that make you feel something. Not just because I like the story or I think it's cool, but because it has a reason for its existence. It has a purposeful message for everyone to know or enjoy or even learn something from it. So as the conditions stand, I need to make 10 short films, each one pushing me in ways that I don't expect. And somewhere in those 10, at least one must win something at a film festival. Not just because I'm good enough to enter, because I'm good enough to be seen. And when both conditions are met, only then will I be eligible to start the journey of our first feature. So let's start film number 1, my thesis. It's called Masquerade. It's a film about a world where identity is dictated by the masks people wear. A quiet student's fragile sense of self begins to crack within the society, leading to a public unveiling that challenged everything he's been taught to be. I'm making this film because I think we all do this in a way. We all wear something, a version of ourselves that other people give us, that we start carrying before we even understand what it is. And I think suppressing that, pretending it's not there, causes something we don't notice until it's gone. Like, for example, if someone all your life has told you you should be a doctor, you start believing that, but you ultimately don't question it in such a way that you end up hating the job that you're in, hating the life that you have constructed because you didn't take the time to get to know yourself. Listen, I'm not making this film to give anyone answers. Rather, I'm making it to ask a question. Are we really who we say we are? Or are we all hiding behind some masks? The truth is, we all want freedom. But can we ever be free if we don't even know what that is for ourselves? I just want someone to walk away from this feeling like it's okay to be you. You know? 0 films to 10. 1 feature film that is going to be fully written. And 3 months left for short film number 1. The story starts here. So subscribe if you want to follow my journey.